Tonight you'll see one of the most stunning and revealing videotapes ever broadcast on Image Union. It's called Legend Zero, and it was shot, produced, and edited by former Chicago video artist Philip Morton, who has spent the last several years among the wilderness people of Montana.
Hi y'all, I'm jonCates and I'm here in Chicago to talk to you about your old friend Phil Morton at the Art Institute where Phil taught and where I now teach. This is the Art Institute Museum, and this is about exactly how it looked when Phil came here and started teaching in 1969. And behind me here is the school where I teach and where Phil taught. And I teach in the department, and I was the chair of the department that is the department that grew out of the program that Phil Morton started here back in the early 1970s. So I'm going to take you inside the school, which is the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. It is the nation's most influential art schools, and Phil Morton shaped this school by creating programs here for a form of art made with videos, like this here video. Making art called video art. So what Phil Morton did was he created an area for the study of video art, making art with videos. And that video art area became the video art department. And it was the first time anywhere in the United States of America that anybody had ever offered a degree, an art degree, in making videos and video art. And that's what Phil Morton did. He was an artist and an educator, and he was a creator of different kinds of communities. He built communities here in Chicago, and those communities have continued today. And they have been very influential here in Chicago, in the United States, and around the world. Here we are in the archive that I founded, which is the Phil Morton Memorial Research Archive of all of Phil Morton's work from the decade of the 1970s when he was here in Chicago teaching at the school. And so we have original videos from the art department that he created, the video art area. Here's a tape, for instance, his most famous videotape called General Motors, and it's from 1976, and this is probably his most famous videotape. This here is a copy of the videotape, and you can see it's got his thumbprint on it and an X through that thumbprint. That here, that symbol right there, that means copy it right. That means that this here videotape is supposed to be copied.
Now you see, we got a little bit of a problem right here at the tail
end,
because you see, some of our friends sort of told us that they still ain't gonna believe it, man, and so we had to figure out a way of sort of confirming that we're serious, and so...
So here we are now at my home, and I wanted to share with you some of the books that have been written about Phil Morton. This is a book that is simply called Phil Morton Video Art. This is a book here about Phil, and this is a book here called, this here book is called A History of Video Art, and that's got Phil in it as well. And then there are the books that I have contributed to, and my writing and research about Phil Morton is in. So these are some of those books right here. These are books about media art histories, the histories of media art, which, like I said, was a field that Phil Morton had a very important contribution to, and has really shaped what people now know is possible with video as an art form and experimental media art being combined together and importantly connected. And so you can see here's the part that I wrote about Phil Morton, and it's about the future as well as the past. So it's about the media art histories that Phil Morton contributed to, but it's also about how those histories tell us about the future. And this here's my cat. Phil Morton did not get rich from all of his work. He did not become a wealthy man because of all his work. He did get very well known, and he was very well respected, especially by his students and his colleagues and those who worked with him. He was very well known and well respected all across well, of course, here in Chicago, in the nation, and internationally. But he definitely is not a person who became a wealthy man because of his artwork. And as I write here in this here book, The Immersive Life Practices, what he did do was he decided in the later part of his life that he would, as I say here, he dropped out of the academic and the art systems, and he returned to the American West and to live close to the land via hunting and trapping. And he lived off the land. He was hunting and trapping and living off the land. And so he lived and he died eventually on the land that he loved out in Montana. Now, he did not become a wealthy man by his artwork, but he was a well-loved and well-respected man. And he always loved and looked after the land itself, and he cared very deeply about the wildlife and the American bison in particular. He believed in art as a way of life, and he believed that way of life should be protected and that people should be respected for experimenting and exploring everything that's possible, especially with new technologies, such as those that we are now very familiar with today. But for him, those were all brand new technologies that people weren't familiar with. They didn't know or understand. So he really broke new ground and explored new areas. And he really made it possible for people such as myself and generations of other people to come along and to make art with new tools and new technologies. So that's a little bit of news from out here, as Phil would say, in Chicago, about your old friend, Philip Lee Morton.